Yes.
What is your city state strategy generally, like early on, right? Like based on your tier video that you
Yes.
just made that received quite a bit of feedback.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what is your strategy overall?
Well, if you watch me play, if you get first envoy, any city state's good. Now if I get like, let's say I get an envoy from like a goody hut or something, or you get the mysticism envoy.
Yeah, it's a choice, right? When you
Yep.
have a choice.
So now there's two trains of thought here. If I'm just sitting on one envoy and there's no easy quest, say I get like a trade route or get a great scientist or
Mhm.
something like that, something where you're like, well, that's never happening. I'm gonna hold on to that envoy for a culture city state. Unless I'm going for like a high value pantheon, then I would go for a religious city state.
Yeah.
Now, if I get a sort of like, say I'm going and I run into like Hansa or Zanzibar where it's some gold, I'll throw it into a good high value like commercial city state. But it's gonna have to be like a high value one. Otherwise, I'm gonna be holding out for culture. But now the second train of thought is if I can get early Caesarity anywhere, that's the number one priority because I will stress this every time it comes out. If you can get Caesarity mid or early ancient era, that is the strongest play. There is nothing better. Get Caesarity, levy those troops. That is the strongest play. You can give me a few what if scenarios that are like, okay, yeah, I guess Caesarity and levy wouldn't be right. But 99% of the time, if you get Caesarity and Levy, even if it's Preslov, Caesarity, Levy, that will pay for itself.
Well, let me ask you a question
Yeah.
because I do agree with you. However, you have to qualify that city for a levy, right? Like,
Yep.
if, for example, you explored in such a manner that the area around that city state is pretty much explored,
Yes.
but you were like, if I throw another envoy against suzerainty of Preslav, do you really want to do that, right?
Well,
And because there are
I
two
guess yeah. Nope.
reasons that
Nope.
you
You,
do it
you're
for.
you're you're actually making a good point. I was overgeneralizing.
There are two reasons, right? There are two reasons. One reason you levy troops to explore.
Yep.
The other one is to go
Utility.
and
Yep. Pillage, clear barbarian camps. Go like I've
okay,
said multiple times. If you can get like one or two pillages, you've made your money back.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so and that's why I'm saying it's never a wrong call, but you're actually right. It does need to be positioned in a way where it is of value. If it's like on an island, if
So
it's
give us some ideas. Like, what are you talking about when you talk of value, right? So, like, you have to have like some kind of a checklist, right? You look
yep.
at a city state in its position. You're like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm leaving the troops there.
Well, the number one thing, and this happens quite a bit, let's say one of the units of a city state is on one side of the mountain range, but every other unit's on the other side. That is your gold tier levy right there because it's getting you access to
Mhm.
somewhere you can't go. If the terrain is terrible, that's like if you're playing like a highlands map or if you wind up in a forest and you have like if you have like the crescent around the city state is unexplored, that's like super high value as well. Now if it's between you and your nearest opponent, that's great. Or if it's surrounded by opponents where you can just go in and get a lot of levy or a lot of pillages, that's going to be really good. Now, alternatively, if like to your point, if it's behind you, like if you're Russia and it's behind you and closer to the tundra, that's going to be of less value unless you have like a use for it. In a situation like that, I probably wouldn't go the Caesarity route, but I would be a whole lot more choosy of where I put my envoys, because I'd want that as a backup plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there are certain things with city states that I've noticed. Like there was one game I was playing where city state got to the boats
Yep,
before I did, right?
yep.
And when I levied the units, you get the boats.
You get
Even
the
if you
yep.
don't. shipbuilding, you know, or anything like that. So
You get
there,
boats, you can get the machinery eureka really, really early because they can
yeah,
they get access to archers pretty early on. Um, you if you watch them, a lot of city states get the archery. Or build an archer for a quest. You can get an envoy through levying a city state. Yeah.
when you declare war, right, early on,
Oh yeah,
even
that's
well,
exploration. I've pointed out that before. One of the greatest uses of the early war mechanic is you get visibility of every city state that the person you declare war on. If there's suzerainty of a city state, you find the city state. So when you're declaring those
there's got
early
to be
wars,
like,
what?
yeah, but it's a certain mm, turn count, right? Like because you can't do it too early because no one's is suzerain too early. So you
Yeah,
have to wait a little bit. Like I guess end of ancient era would
yeah.
make sense, or
hmm Well, I start declaring wars right away because it's going to increase the likelihood that they put envoys into a city state to get suzerainty. The AI
Hmm.
will sometimes camp on envoys. Now, if you declare war on them, they're going to try and increase their odds, which will make them more likely to pick the diplomat governor, which will make them more likely to put envoys out there. So this is another reason why just declaring war on city or on civilizations uh, can be helpful if they're not directly adjacent to you, or if they're on a separate landmass that you can't access. I just declare war sometimes because you never know what this is going to return. Even if I'm not like trading gold and stuff, I'll be declaring war because okay, maybe I just want to end deals, or maybe
Oh, dude, I still remember when you told me that if you declare war first, you're gonna get AI all like discombobulated, and they're
yes,
not going to be able to mount anything really. They'll go on the defensive, so you have the initiative, right?
yes. Well, not always. If they're on your borders, it's too late. But if you,
Of course, of
yeah,
course. But generally, like, you know, be aggressive.
yep,
You said that, like, you're not aggressive enough. As soon as I started doing that and taking those steps, it just made the game easier.
yeah, because the biggest problem for a lot of people is one, they ignore all the warning signs that they're about to get a war declared on them. They wait, like the only warning sign that people take serious is denouncement and troops showing up on your border. And denouncement doesn't mean they're going to war with you. Denouncement, a lot of the time, of like the majority of the time, just means they denounced you. It actually is very unlikely that that's leading to a war, but there's so many other signs. Now, alternatively, if you declare war on them and they don't start moving to you right away, you have your answer. They're not going to war with you.
What is your strategy generally? Because I mean, you're saving these envoys until when? Until you can use that policy card. I don't remember the name, but
There's
when
the
you
first policy card that is,
but are
uh,
you saving envoys? Like, are you because you
yes.
didn't even mention scientific city states because you don't care for science, I guess, earlier on.
I don't care.
Um,
I don't concern myself. The only way I'm going to spend an envoy before the double envoy card. Our first envoy is worth 2 cards. Sorry, let me
mhm.
rephrase it. Is culture or suzerainty. That's it. Like now, and then like I said, if I'm like hard up for gold or if I want a pantheon, I'll make that distinction, but play like in game. But if you're looking for a hard and fast, this is like generally what I will do. Culture is the only thing that's worth spending an envoy that you get to choose where it goes. Now, quests, complete them if you can, save them if you can, because it really evens out. If you finish a quest in the ancient era, you get a new quest in the classical era. It might be an impossible quest in the classical era, so technically you'll come out behind, but you're getting the benefit from it. But when you have an envoy that you can choose where it goes, if it's not getting you suzerainty or culture, you wait until it's worth 2 because and the pantheon, that would be the one caveat that pops up the most.
When we talked about levying troops from a
Yes.
city state, I forgot to ask you if you have any, like, do you send an extra envoy? Because it's so,
Yes.
if they
Well, it
add those
depends.
in,
It depends. Am I going to war or am I just levying them? If I'm just levying them, I'm not going to waste the extra envoy. It'll suck if I lose the troops. I'll be a little disappointed. But if I'm using them for war, I want the two envoy buffer. So if the
oh,
closest rival has two envoys in there and I
yeah,
have three, I
yeah,
want four envoys minimum.
okay.
Because the AI will sometimes have one, sometimes they'll even have two, but it's very unlikely they're going to have two. Um,
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
num
seems like they always add one envoy at a
Exactly,
time. It's like
and the diplomat is two envoys. So if somebody who I'm not directly at war, I see their diplomat coming in, I guess I'm declaring war.
Mhm.
Plain and simple. If you have that two envoy buffer and you check it every few turns, or if it's a very important thing, if you're using them for defense, you better be checking that every turn. Like if you're being attacked from two sides and your defense is that city state levy, I'd be checking that every turn. But if I'm like going to war, I'd be checking every few turns to make sure that that two envoy buffer is intact. And if it isn't, figure out how I'm going to get back.
Hmm. Do you have any tips in the sense of like how city states work? Like how they generate units? And because you know what I noticed, like once you become a suzerain, they just like stop upgrading their units or
Yes and
something.
no.
They like fall behind. That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
there's a couple of things that you need to know here. One,
Yeah.
and I've touched on this with you prior, but I think it's not well. It's not that it's not well known, but it's something that people don't actively think of. If you levy a city state's units, they're going to make units because they now have zero. So if you're in a defense situation, or if you have a city state close to a rival, um, even if you just levy those to go pillage them, that city state's going to start making more units and increases the odds that they're going to start harassing them. Now there's a chance that nothing could happen. Zero is always an option when you're looking at like things that could happen. Nothing could happen. They could do something else. But you also find that if city states are at war with somebody, they create more units. Now, if you're Caesarian of a city state and you're declaring war on people who are across the world and can do nothing to you, that increases the probability that city state will create units. Now, are they going to upgrade them? I don't know. Like you can never guarantee anything in game because it's all probability based. But this stuff will increase the likelihood it makes more units. When a city state's at peace, that's when they delete units because they don't have the gold per turn to sustain them,
Hmm.
if that
Okay.
makes sense. So if let's say you've upgraded a bunch of man at arms in a city state, you levied it, and now you're going to like lose that levy in two turns, and you're at peace with everyone. A lot of those man at arms are probably going to disappear if you don't re-levy them pretty soon, because that city state isn't going to have the gold per turn to afford those troops.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you watch the game, a lot of times city states will actually the very first game I recorded. It happened to me, and I remember this because I was so upset.
What was the game?
That was your Japan game, your Japan culture triangle game. I can't think of, but it was the very first game I recorded, and I remember France had put you out. So my whole thing is I wanted to conquer France as soon as possible, just to be like a
Yeah.
double.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
was watching the troops because they had a bunch of swordsmen, and I was about to samurais, and I was gonna get Caesarity and Levy, so I'd have like I believe it was six samurais, and like the turn before, they deleted three of the swordsmen. So when I levied them, I only had three troops. I was like, "Oh, are you kidding me?"
Oh, wow. Dude,
Yes,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
yes. If you watch City State Troops, they have maintenance costs. They will
Huh.
delete troops.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
That's an
That's
important thing to
legit.
know. So if you have put a lot of money into a city state army and you're thinking of re-levying it, I would make sure I could levy it the turn you lose it. Um,
Okay.
because
But see, the thing is, like, I guess it prevents some players leaving the troops because, you're afraid you're going to lose them, right?
yes.
And you're going to lose them to AI pumping in more envoys. But like you said, if you have a buffer of two, you just have to keep an eye on it.
Hmm.
Chances are you're not going to lose them. Now, when you levy the troops, and I guess if you go to war, you just go ahead and upgrade them, right?
Yep.
Okay. Because I guess I have never considered upgrading, city state troops.
What's the
You,
what is the usable lifespan of your average unit? Like I get what you're saying because well, this is not my unit. Why would I invest in it?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But how long are
Well,
swordsmen?
it needs to be the situation on the ground, right? Like
Yeah,
if I have an opportunity
yeah,
to conquer a city or pillage, and maybe if I upgrade this unit to a man at arms,
yeah.
it can survive much longer and
Exactly.
do more damage. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just another cost. It's just another cost versus benefit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like
Exactly,
because
exactly. Like everything else, right? Like
yeah,
you have to approach it.
and because they're melee, even if it was your man at arms, if you're fighting somebody on your left and your next opponent's on the right, are you really going to move that man at arms 24, 30 tiles? Like even if it was yours, like the value isn't there. You're gonna just have to buy a new unit on the other side. If it was heavy cavalry where you could get 4 or 5 tiles with a road, that's different. But when you're moving 2 tiles, and if there's any sort of feature, it's not going anywhere. The functional number of turn or the number of turns a unit is functional for 30 is about it.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Another one. How do you determine what civ, what leader to go to war against when you levy those troops, right? Like, so you have some neighbors, like what is your criteria in that? Is it like you see they have some districts you can pillage and tiles to pillage, or is there an opportunity to maybe destroy racist cities so that you cripple them and get more land to yourself for your immediate neighbors? Like, what, you know, how do you determine which war would be most beneficial to you?
Number one, unprepared. If a civilization is
Mm.
unprepared, when I levy, if I see no troops and I see anything to pillage, that's where I'm going.
And like no walls,
Yep.
low city stats,
If
right?
they're
Uh-huh.
not prepared. Now, the adverse of your question, I think, is the better question. I don't like messing with Vietnam. Because any feature gives them a combat strength bonus, and you're in their territory, you're just going to burn units. Grand Columbia, same thing. Anyone who has one of those combat strength modifiers are movement modifiers. The movement modifier is almost more dangerous. I don't like messing with them as much. Nubia, why are you even trying to pillage them in the
No,
early
I'm
game?
saying like once they get the Pitati archers,
Yeah,
just go
it's
to war with them, right?
yeah.
Take them out.
Yeah, exactly. And once they get the Patati
Good
Archer,
luck.
you're gonna wait until that thing is no longer relevant. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
unless you want to have the most unfun you've ever had in a war. But no, unprepared is the number one thing I look for. Number two is a civilization that is not a bad civilization to deal with. Anyone that has one of those standout defensive bonuses or movement bonuses, not worth it. You're just going to watch your investment disappear. Now, the third thing I look for is value of pillage plus ease of getting there. If somebody is in 100% hills, or there's rivers everywhere, um, it's probably not going to be worth it unless you can use those to your advantage. If it's a bunch of hills and I'm using a scout, but we're talking levies, that might be a different situation because I'm gonna be able to outrun their troops, and then that works for me. But if I'm not going to be able to get it, and this is all map knowledge you have to be looking for, and then finally, if I see like a lot of like if I see an early theater square, like Coupe does this a lot for some reason. If Coupe's in game, he'll sometimes have theater squares in the ancient era. If I see somebody with a theater square, that is like a bullseye.
Mm,
Pillage this person, because that, like, I can't stress this enough. Early culture will improve your game more than anything. Any amount of extra early culture. So if I see like a theater square pretty early, that's like a bullseye. But yeah, but the most important factor is, are they at war with somebody else? Or are their troops completely distracted? It's pillaging time.
yeah. I mean, and it also changed my games, the joint wars and
Yep.
making sure that everyone's at war with each other. That was
Yes.
like, that's also like, it's not a game breaking technique, but it's a technique that helps you a lot because AI falls behind. They just don't do as well as they would otherwise if they're not preoccupied defending their own borders and whatnot.
Well, yeah. Well, because if you watch like City State Troops, you have to realize that City State Troops is the exact same AI as Civilization Troops. So if the AI is not at war and they just have produced like four spearmen in the ancient era, all they're doing is like going back and forth in their territory, giving you zero opportunity to get in there. Like it literally just turns into like a stealth game where, okay, how do I get into this when they're just patrolling it more or less? But now if they're at war with somebody, all of a sudden they start moving in a more controlled manner where, okay, maybe it doesn't help me, but maybe they actually move towards that other person.
Hmm.
The other
Okay.
thing is, remember, the AI will address barbarian camps sometimes, and the AI is not really good at managing threat. So if they have five troops in the area, all five will go to the barbarian camp. Yeah. So these are things to like factor in when you're looking at how can I pillage.
Yeah. 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 No, it totally makes sense because, and the culture you can only get from Theater Square.
Theater
Kind of
square.
just
Yeah, if you're not Norway, you can only get culture from a theater square, and you can only get science from a campus.
an industrial zone.
Yeah, but you're not going to find an industrial zone early game. But I
No.
guess
No.
if we're
Okay.
talking
No.
length of game, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a few
Uh,
improvements that provide science as well, the unique science improvements.
but culture is very
Yeah,
limited.
it's very rare. And that's
Yeah.
why anytime I see a campus or anytime I see a theater square, that is a bullseye. This is go because even
You just
even late game,
beeline to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That I will burn any strategy I initially had for the chance to get a little bit more culture.
Yeah, and it's funny because even in like domination games, you want to get to the civics that grant you, cores and armies,
Yep.
right? Like, and those are civics down the tree, and you want that culture somehow. And so, yeah, it any game, any victory, I feel like culture is just keeps its value for a very long time.
Well, and I will even make the argument. You want culture in a domination game because Grandmaster Chapel and Theocracy is still probably the best mashup of abilities, even if you've invested no points into faith, just because there's so many faith pillages, and that's pretty far down that culture tree. I mean, you have to get, and there's a lot of optional civics to get there. But if you're getting to that point in your domination game, Grandmaster Chapel and Theocracy, pillage a few holy sites, you can get units.
No, I was gonna ask you this. So we try to build Kilwa, right?
Yeah.
If there is an opportunity and you see that you have
Yes.
suzerainty, it plays a major role, right? And
Yep.
and you can get suzerainty of multiple city states, and you're like, all right, I'll go with Kilwa. Now, do you have some kind of preference, or again, I mean, are you going by your tier guide in the sense of like, let me get suzerainty of two culture city states if I can, and
Oh,
then
no, culture city states are the absolute worst uh, for uh, for their city state bonus. They peak at one envoy if you're looking at city state bonus because why are you building theater squares? Like what? Like
wait,
uh,
wait, wait. What do you mean? Well, I'm talking about Kilwa, right? Like
yeah,
that grants you like 20% boost,
yeah.
right?
Why are you
So
building theater squares? Like if like unless
more
you're playing the
more
culture,
culture.
yeah, unless you're playing the culture game, why you building theater squares? So
But if you get suzerainty of two cultural city state, your culture output grows quite right by 20%. I mean, called empire wide, and we just said that culture is important. So why not?
it increases the bonus of the city state, not so you would still need the theater square and the buildings.
I don't think you need anything. I think you just need to be a suzerain. You get bonuses from number of envoys, yes, from those buildings, but to get benefits from Kilwa, you just need to be a suzerain.
So it's the boost provided by the city state.
I here's how I read it. I read
So
it
yeah,
as it'll be 15% boost empire wide to my culture if I am a suzerain of two culture city states.
no, it's the culture provided by the city state. I'm almost 90% sure. If I
Then
have
Kilwa
played if
sucks.
I have played this long and I have been wrong on that, I'm going to be shocked. I wouldn't be the first time. Like honestly, it wouldn't be. Um,
But that city state provides what? I don't know, 10 culture?
yeah,
So are you saying I'm getting 1.5 culture? Why am I building Kilwa? Like what? Hold on a second. I think I'm a little lost here. What's the value of Kilwa then?
hold up.
Like,
Now I might have been wrong all this time. Wait, if you are Caesarian of one city state, that city that builds this wonder gets a 15% bonus production. If you're a city two or more, every city in your empire gains a 15%. That can't be
look,
right. Have I been wrong? Have I been thinking about
I
this
think you've
wrong the
been
entire
wrong
wrong?
because I've seen the modifier in the game from Kilwa, from Wonders, and Kilwa is the only wonder. So yeah, for sure.
So I've been thinking of this wrong the entire time. 15%
But like,
bonus.
why would you build Kilwa in your thinking though? Because it seems to like barely provide any value. Like the numbers just not, you know what I mean?
Wow, I have been incredibly wrong this entire time. That is impressive.
How's that possible?
How is what possible?
That's a physical impossibility for you to be wrong about something in the game as basic as this because Kilwa, like you ranked Kilwa pretty highly on your tier list, right?
Yeah,
For what reason though? Like if it wasn't providing
because even the way
uh
I was thinking about it was providing enough.
holy
Because
shit.
I think even when we were talking, because I was thinking more, it's giving me a bunch of envoys and it's giving me 15% more gold in faith. That's all I cared because every city has a commercial hub, every city has a
Wow, dude.
holy site. So in my head, I was like, that's enough. But I was even
Nah,
talking.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, it's
you
the
know, it's
bonus
funny
just
because
because it's production, that's what you get. You get production 15%. If it's science, you get
yeah,
15% of that.
which this is hilarious because I was actually talking about this in my actual job today because I like the guy was worried.
About Kilwa?
Well, no, not about Kilwa, but he was worried because like he couldn't remember something, this or that, and I was like, I play Civilization 6 every single day, give or take. Um, I'm pretty good at it. I can't tell you a lot of the names, and I can't tell you a lot of the exact bonuses. But I can tell you how they modify the game to work out in your favor. And I can tell you when you unlock blank, you want to use this thing, it's yellow. Like if, that's why I was like, here, let me pull up the wiki because I don't remember the exact wording of so many things, but I know okay, in my head it was like Kilwa gives me 3 envoys. By the time I get Kilwa out, I'm already at Raj most of the time, which isn't that far from getting the globalization or the other card. I mean, in my head, I'm like, these things are like rapid fire. So those three
Wow.
envoys
So you value Kilwa for the number of envoys it
for the
grants
number of
you.
envoys, and I was like, oh, the gold and faith is enough.
Dude, I always try to build Kilwa in the city. Like if your capital can have Kilwa, that's a freaking killer because
Yeah,
it gets 30%
yeah.
boost to all yield basically if you can get Suzerain.
I still
Uh,
and now knowing how it works, you know what's funny? I still don't change my belief that it does not matter what city Kilwa's in unless it can be in your capital, which I think I said in our video. Like when people are like, "Oh, I wanted to make sure I had like the perfect Kilwa city," it still doesn't matter unless it's your capital. Like the difference between a good city and an average, like a good non-capital city and an average non-capital city is usually so small that just get kill out. It doesn't change.
You know what? It's so many times that the city that you get Kilwa in kind of sucks,
Yeah,
but you just want that another 15% for the rest of the empire,
yeah,
right? Like that's a big one. So you just want it out. I get it. I get it.
yeah. And you know what the
Um,
best part is? Thinking about my games, it makes perfect sense because the only thing that Kilwa is really giving me at that point is Golden Faith, anyways. Because 90% of the time when I build Kilwa, I haven't even started building my endgame districts yet. So that's probably why I've never noticed it. That it wasn't doing like the opposite
dude, it
way.
just naturally falls into your strategy.
Yeah,
So, you know, I mean,
because
like,
I'm
you don't care about its bonuses, but because you naturally play like that, it
yeah.
just manifests its
This is like
bonuses.
the greatest thing ever because so many times like I've seen people say like how like people will say oh something along the lines of he's good but he doesn't know that much and okay but why does that matter like because I've seen that like commented like a couple of times. Well, he doesn't really know that much. Yeah, I do. I know how to stack bonuses. Maybe I
Why does
don't.
it bother you so
Yeah,
much?
maybe I don't understand how Kilwa works until 1 month before the next game unlocks. Are you better than me? That has to suck, doesn't it?
Can you imagine if you only knew like a quarter of the game concept and still won?
Well, because like I said, for me, it still actually it fit into my base strategy, and this just means
You have tunnel vision. I get it.
yeah,
I get
this
it. You
just
have tunnel
means
vision to the
that
victory.
yeah, this just means yeah, I was right. It's doing more than I thought. But
Yeah.
have you ever seen me not get? Have you ever seen me go? Oh wait, Kilwa isn't worth it. No, I built it every time
For the envoys, because you value envoys
for
so
the
much.
envoys, and
So let me ask you, what's the rest of your strategy with Citizen? So you get to that first card, right, for 2 envoys,
yep.
but you don't immediately start like pumping envoys into every city state. You
No,
just
I don't
wait.
pump and I don't put envoys unless I have the 2 envoy card or if I can get Caesarity. Now I am fine with just a level 3 or a 3 envoy
Mhm.
bonus in every city state.
Yeah, for
Bec-
Gathering Storm, that's the buildings, right?
yep,
That you really build.
yep. I'm never going to go to the level 6 bonus unless I have Caesarity of everyone. Because my even like I would rather have Preslov, Cardiff, um, Candy after all wonders have been found, Caesarity, than a level 6 or a 6 level envoy bonus in any city state. Because my bigger thing is I want the full map utility. And then I also want the most return on investment at the end of the game when you get to globalization and stuff. And if you have Caesarity in every city state, usually the AI will like pick one and just fight that one. so you don't have to spend as many envoys, if that makes sense.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How strong do you think Barbarian Clans mode is for the fact that it creates more city
For the fact
states?
that it creates more city states.
And for the fact that you probably going to be the first one to meet them,
Yeah.
and you
Well,
probably
and
eventually
here's
gonna
the
get
thing.
suzerainty of more of them.
Barbarian clans is only powerful if the game lasts long enough for the city states to be created. In a lot of my games, they just aren't popping up as often. By the time they're popping up, it's too little to like just like legitimately.
42, what was that? 42 turns later, you get a culture victory or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
was it
exactly.
32?
Yeah,
No.
I turned 32, just win a culture. No, but like, because like what you're saying is right. What's nice about barbarian clans is if you've done a really good job exploring,
Right.
you'll find the first of them. Now, the problem is a lot of the early city states are a lot of the early barbarian clans that would turn into city states, unless you've kept them alive and sort of fed them, which I don't think is worth it. I think it's because it's risk versus reward. It could always turn into It could always turn into Preslov. Like it could always like so.
Right.
Just because you have a pocket city state, I don't think it's worth putting thousands of dollars of gold in there to get Preslov.
Let me
Yeah,
ask you the last question.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Um, is there a city state worth going to war with an AI? You know how AI sometimes pumps like all of its freaking invoice into one city state and
Yeah,
they have like 10 of them. I mean, there are ways, right, to reduce that number. Maybe a money, you want to
with
upgrade money,
spies.
some yeah, spies,
Yeah.
sure.
The
But
only
is
use of
there
spy that that's like the only use of spy that I think is worthwhile. Um, if I could fit,
I know if we start debating spies, I think protecting city centers, protecting your governor,
yeah, well, but what, yeah,
it's pretty. I find it useful. But if you do you have a city state that you would absolutely go to war with, either to deny AI from a benefit or to benefit yourself, or do you like usually look at it and you're like, yeah, whatever, help yourself, and I'm fine with it.
um, well, this is two questions. The only city state that I would eliminate because I don't want the AI to have it would be a COD, because that throws a weird um, thing into the mix where your walls will disappear faster. And once I
But
get
that will allow them to conquer somebody else, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
even you.
Well, because so often once I get walls, if somebody moves troops in, I don't even really. I was just like, okay, well, you're gonna die. Like you're the AI going up against walls.
Yeah, yeah,
But if
yeah,
a
yeah.
COD's in game,
Uh-huh.
that can
Uh-huh.
cause a bit of an issue
Yeah,
there.
especially like Mongolia with the Cod suzerainty. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, so that would be the only benefit that I want to make it so the AI doesn't have. So to answer
mm,
that question, that would be the only thing there. Now, the other question is if I meet a city state and it's after an Apadana rush, like say I've already done the Apadana rush, all those envoys are spent, right?
mhm,
And I need 7 envoys or something like that to get
mhm,
Caesarity.
mhm.
In my head, I'm thinking at some point I'm going to conquer that city state, trade that city state away, and liberate that city state to get Caesarity of it.
You're gonna conquer the city state, trade it away,
Yep,
and then liberate it.
correct.
So you don't conquer and liberate, you trade it away
You,
to
you can't you
just
can't you can't conquer and liberate.
oh
If you
you
if you're going to be the
well
aggressor,
liberate right away, I guess. That's what I
yeah.
mean.
So if I'm going to like let's say I meet
Wait, but you do that for profit? You just trade in it for some gold and stuff?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you do?
Like say it's turn 100 and I find Hansa, right?
Uh-huh.
And they have 10 envoys in there.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna waste the time getting 10 envoys.
Right.
No, I'll just conquer Hansa. Now
Okay.
I'll repair the walls in Hansa. I'll wait 10 turns. I'll pick a civilization out of a hat. go, hey, you want to buy Hansa? They'll probably say yes. Even if I have to pay them, I don't care. I'll give them 1,000 gold per turn. I don't care because I'm going to declare war on that turn and conquer Hansa again. And this time I liberate it. And now I'm Caesarian.
Why why would you repair walls then?
You have to.
Why?
You can't trade it away until walls are repaired.
Ooh. Wow. Huh. For real?
Yeah.
That's a
So
weird requirement.
yeah. So if you're so it gets to a point in the game. There's just not enough envoys. Like if Greece is in game and he's gone like really hardcore with theater squares and decided to pick one city state, I'm not going to fight him. I'll just get rid of the city state. There goes all your envoys. That was easy.
Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because like what if Pericles is right next to you? You know he goes after city states. Do you make him your priority target, or do you still consider where he's located and hills and whatever else, the ease of
Oh, an
moving to
annoyance factor is definitely up there. Some if like like if Pericles is in game, I know that. Or if somebody is constantly taking my Caesarity, they're a number one target because I can't stress this enough. Caesarity, I think, is one of the most important things in game because I'll go back to this so many times. It provides utility, and you never know when. Oh, I need 3 line infantry. Oh, this city state has 3 melee troops. Sweet, that'll save me
Mhm,
money. So levy,
mhm.
produce, upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Even something that simple. Or oh, I'm going to go to war with somebody. Oh shoot, a flood came through and killed my units. Oh, I got the city state. I can just repair my army that way. Like the utility of city states is just massive. So you want to be Caesarity of all you can. So if somebody is taking that, they're the first one that needs to go.
Mhm. And then there is the last tip that I learned from you was if there is a quest for a trade route early
Oh
on,
yeah,
and that city state has a barbarian camp right between on the path of that trade route, you're like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm
oh yeah.
sending the trade route right through because you get the quest done, you get your trade route pillaged, but you can always rebuild it and send it to your
Yeah, I had
other
so like
city.
I did it twice in the same era in a video, and somebody was like, "Why were you so happy
Right?
when your trade route got pillaged?" And I was like, "It cost me 300 gold for 2 envoys. Normally,
Yeah.
it cost me 900 gold for 2 envoys because I had to buy 3 builders." Like that was amazing. Like, are you kidding? For the cost of one trader, I got an envoy. I was ecstatic.
That is something I actually did that. The trade route laid through through AI's territory. I declared war on the freaking AI.
Yeah. Here's another thing. Here's another thing to know on that same thing. Sometimes the AI is really sloppy at pillaging your trade routes. If their unit is standing on your trade route when you declare war on them, they'll pillage it. Like it gets pillaged automatically. So,
Awesome.
but no, but now the next step on that is say you're going to declare war on Arabia. If Samarkand's uh, if Samarkand's quest is a trade route, and you send that trade route and then declare war on Arabia, free envoy, you don't even lose the trade route.
Why? I'm
Because
not following.
If Arabia is Caesarian of Samarkand,
Uh-huh.
Samarkand will declare war on you.
Uh-huh.
You completed the quest. You don't lose that envoy, but the trade route will cancel immediately.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you
Okay.
yourself declare war on Samarkand, you lose all your envoys. So you can't just send the trade route and declare war because it goes down to 0.
When there is a quest that is unfulfillable, you got to get a great scientist or something early on.
Just declare
Um,
war.
but what's that? What's the benefit of that? Because you don't get the new quest until the end of the era anyway. So, like, why would you do that? Doesn't the quest change with every era?
Not the quest only changes if you have completed the quest or if the quest has disappeared.
But the quest disappears with every era,
No, it doesn't.
right? It
Nope.
doesn't?
Nope. That's why
Oh,
at the end of the game you usually have 32 send trade route quests, or like something like really
dude,
stupid.
I could have sworn that every.
Nope. Every time that a
Oh,
city state declares war on you, you lose the quest.
oh,
So if you're
you're
declaring
saying.
war on civilizations who have sincerity, you are refreshing your quest that way.
Oh, so you're saying when I get that message saying your state gives you this new quest, it's only when the quest was already the first
Gone.
quest was full.
Yes. So
Oh,
that's why, like,
son of a
I,
gun.
I don't do it.
Now I get
Yeah.
it.
I don't do it super often just because, like,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're, one, you have to keep track of it. And by about turn 30, I already have so much going on, I start forgetting things. Um,
I'm about to win the game.
Yeah. Well, by turn 30, I'm already like tunnel visioning into only what's immediately in front of me. What do I have to do this
Yeah.
turn?
Yeah.
So it gets harder to remember those sort of things. And two, the more it's less important in the scope of the game, but it's more annoying to me if you declare war on a city state, then you go to war with somebody, they become Caesarian of that city state. Now, when you get peace with them, it's going to be glitched. You're not going to get, you're not going to be able to put envoys in it. You're not going to be able to get the visibility.
Yeah, yeah. And you lose all your envoys, right? You
Yeah,
go
but
down
no,
to
for the
zero.
rest of the game.
Yeah.
That's the trigger for a lot of those city state glitches
Mm,
is when you're at war with it, and that, or when you find a city state through war, which is one of my things. I declare war so often just because it gets you exploration sometimes, but that's
mhm.
why you'll get city states where even when you're Caesarian you're not getting the visibility from them.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's more like bugs, though, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's what I mean. So that's another reason why I don't do it,
Mm.
because one, there's a huge likelihood I'm going to forget,
Yeah.
and two, there's a lot of bugs that come from declaring war on a city state and then making peace. That for me, even though it's like strategically better, like I'm never going to send an international trade route. I'm never going to get a great general, but I'm gonna forget.
Yeah. It's just not worth it. Yeah.
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 Like like
I get
I like if I had a better memory, or if I wasn't playing like an hour long ancient era already, where I could like remember these things and go and check them, it would be different. But in the real world, I just don't have time for that. But it is like the best. Like if you're playing more relaxed, where you have all the time in the world, if you get a bad city state quest, declare war on them. 10 turns later, make peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe you can go and get a pillage, steal a builder. They're never going to hold a grudge on you. It won't matter. Like
Yeah.
10 turns later, they'll accept peace 100% of the time. So you
Yeah.
lose nothing, you gain everything.
Yeah, it must be so easy playing on lower difficulties when city states don't even have walls, right? You can totally like abuse them.
Oh God,
Um,
that's basically
but
a free city. Like, are you
yeah,
kidding me?
but when they have walls, it's like such a pain.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's why it astounds me when people will find a city state and go, "Well, look at those district locations. I have to conquer them." Okay, well let's do the math here. Which one is going to cost you more resources? Just settling somewhere else, or getting a siege tower, getting a bunch of units? No, what? Just unless you like, by the time you can easily conquer city states, like it doesn't matter anymore. Like I said, by the time by the time I'm conquering city states, I'm looking at like heavy cavalry after knights. Like okay, well it's time to go get some free Caesarity.
yeah, dude. I mean, it's so rare that I would conquer a city state,
Yeah,
unless they just belong to somebody else. Then yeah,
yeah.
sure.
The number of players I see constantly saying, "Well, that city state has to be eliminated," is
Yeah,
astounding.
right,
It's such a bad investment.
right. You
Like,
don't think like what did you just gain something from that city state that like yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, now, granted, if it's the Golden Culture Triangle, I can never pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try. Okay, maybe. It depends on how much of it they're taking. If they settle directly adjacent to it, okay, now there's the discussion of is that a conquerable city state? Now I will enter into that discussion. 99%
That
of
is, dude, that is your next video. You gotta rank natural wonders.
well, then I would have. Do you know how long I had to practice to say the city state names?